Does the 46th President of the United States of America have dementia? This is a very difficult question to answer with limited knowledge on his private life, so I'll do the best that I can with the early signs of onset dementia and his public appearances as the President of the United States and prior. So Joe Biden is 81 years old, and about at that age, your chances of getting dementia dramatically increase. From about 70 to 75, your chances are roughly about 2%. And then once you reach 85, in about that 85 to 90 range, your chances of getting dementia jump up to 22%. And then once you're 90 and beyond, it's looking about a third percent, about 33% that you'll inhabit onset dementia. Now, Joe Biden, as the President of the United States, they don't film the president working in his office and his daily life. So we're going to be basing this stuff off of his speeches and, when they film the president, walking and meeting international leaders and stuff like that. So getting right into the symptoms, very common symptoms are increased confusion and reduced concentration. Now, this can be seen in his speeches quite a bit when he's looking in his articulation, when he's searching for words or when he can't find what he wants to say. Now, a lot of us experience that, and I will say, Joe Biden, he's in the years, like I said, so that might happen more Medicare. Than a younger person.
Thank you, President.
But considering that Joe Biden has been a lifetime politician, or roughly a lifetime politician, he has had many years to absorb knowledge and obtained public speech lessons to, get rid of that roughness, like I just stuttered there, get rid of that roughness. That's what public speech lessons, they teach you how to speak in public and to a crowd. So he's not a stranger to public speaking. So that excuse really falls out the window there. So I would say even the most recent example in the presidential debate, when he was just standing there for 5 minutes, couldn't find what word he wanted to say. Now, most of us, I would say, you're looking for a word, but you'll say something in between. But especially considering that it was proven that they took him from office for a week to prepare for the presidential debate. Now, again, I'm not a master in politicians. I'm not going to tell you what to say. This video is not political. But if I'm going somewhere to prepare for a week, I am most definitely going to basically already know what I'm saying based on the prompts. I mean, if you're a politician, there's not a lot that they're going to throw at you that you don't already know what's going to be. You already know what kind of topics are going to be up there. So I would roughly know what I was going to say, especially considering that these two have already had a presidential candidate race. So he already knows what Donald Trump is going to say, and he already knows what questions are going to pop up. So it's not like you can really throw the excuse out there that this happened that this is a rare occurrence, and plus it happened multiple times during the debate. So that is definitely a couple of signs that he exhibits. Another sign would be change of personality. Again, this video is not political, but for a person that used to be pro-segregation, and then all of a sudden he built his campaign on being for the minority, being for minorities, that is completely contradicts itself. So when you look at that part, again, that could just be show. I mean, that might have nothing to do with dementia, but just completely switching up your personality, that is a sign of onset dementia. So there's, what is that? That's two, you can say 2 or 3 signs. And then another sign of onset dementia is lack to do everyday tasks, inability to do everyday tasks, and muscle weakness. So now you could see this again. He's 81 years old, so there's going to be some times that he fumbles and stuff like that. But more specifically, I want to focus on when he's out in public, such as when he was riding the bike and he fell down. Of course, I'm sure everybody, if you have access to the internet, has seen that clip at some time. And then when he's falling down the stairs. Now, I would consider riding a bike and walking upstairs to be everyday task. Famous saying, once you learn how to ride a bike, you never forget. Therefore, you could consider that an everyday task. And then again, muscle weakness. As onset dementia, as you get dementia, your muscle weakness decreases. So this could explain loss of ability to do everyday task and muscle weakness. Both contribute to his inability to walk upstairs. I'm not saying he struggles every time, but he fell like 2 or 3 times up there. And you could say, oh wow, he was tripping over himself. It was consecutive. But then again, most times when you trip over stairs, it's only once or twice. You don't continue fumbling. And then even when he was riding the bike, it looked like he had his foot down and he just couldn't balance himself. As I was saying, he looked like in the video he had his foot down and he just couldn't come to balance himself. And when you're riding a bike, it's one of the main things riding your bike is balancing yourself. So that is very odd that he wouldn't be able to stand back up on his bike, or maybe he had his seat too high. But still, even then, you should be able to balance yourself if you're in a healthy condition and your muscles aren't weak for some reason, or they're deteriorating, which again, as I said, is a sign of dementia. And lastly, one of the major symptoms of onset dementia, or just dementia, is sundowning. Now, for those of you that don't know, when the sun goes down and when it's nighttime, dementia can get progressively and increasingly worse than it would be during the day, because their brain is, shutting off because it's used to on the daytime cycle, so it gets worse. Now, this is seen in, again, I'm just using stuff that I'm not a big political guy, so I'm not going to go through all 4 years of his presidency. Just recently, during the presidential debate, his performance was, I don't want to say lackluster, but it was definitely off. He wasn't in the moment. And then when you would see he was going and giving speeches, again, the presidential debate, there was no teleprompter or anything like that. All that came off the top of his head. And again, you could say when he went off during the day, he could have a teleprompter. But still, he looked like a completely different person. He looked sharp. He looked, he knew what to say. Whereas during the presidential debate, he had no clue. He didn't know. He couldn't find the words. So that is very odd that he exhibits a lot of the signs of dementia, or a lot of signs of early onset dementia. Now, figuring out if Joe Biden has dementia was not the main point of this video. The main point of this video was to find out who is responsible, because if Joe Biden has dementia, if he doesn't have dementia, who cares? Nobody's ever going to figure out if Joe Biden has dementia. It's never going to be disclosed to the public. It's all going to be kept behind doors, and it's going to be the government's responsibility. And what I wanted to focus on was the 25th Amendment. Now, the 25th Amendment is that states that if the president if something happens to the president, such as he gets impeached, he dies, or something happens, and it could be interpreted to, if something happens where he exhibits the ability to not be fit to serve, then it is the vice president's responsibility and the cabinet's responsibility to come together, congregate, share ideas, and discuss whether or not the vice president needs to take over the presidential spot and lead the country, the United States of America. Now, this leads me to reasons why, if he did have dementia, I'm not saying he does, if he did have dementia, why wouldn't they be doing this? Again, I'm not a fan of the two-party system. Our founder, George Washington, warned us of what would happen to the country if there was a two-party system. And then 40 years later, right after we were just warned not to create a two-party system was created. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. If the Democratic Party, this video is not political, but if the Democratic Party, I'm not even going to say party, if a party wants to keep power, why would they let that president out of office? Now you're saying, well, the vice president is still Democrat. Again, that's not who the party elected. The party wants to keep favors with its voters, and if something were to happen, then that party might lose voters next election, and that would not be good for the party. Again, this is just all reasons why the two-party system does not work, and our forefathers warned us against it. Again, so this video is not political. This video is just encouraging free thinking. Please do not let me persuade you in your next whatever. Figure that out all yourself. This video is not political. Merely exploring ideas and possibilities of the world and encouraging free thinking. That's about it. Stay hydrated.